First contact and isolation. Dr. Sarah Chen stood frozen before the massive holographic display in the United Earth Defense Command Center, her coffee mug slipping from nerveless fingers to shatter on the polished floor. No one in the crowded command center noticed. All eyes were fixed on the impossible sight filling their sky. A vast crystalline structure materializing in Earth's orbit, its faceted surface refracting sunlight in prismatic cascades across the planet below. Multiple objects detected, announced the AI defense system. Energy signatures unprecedented. No match in known databases. Admiral James Rodriguez strode into the command center, his weathered face grave. Report. Sir. Sarah turned from her station, tablet clutched to her chest. The object appeared simultaneously at all major population centers worldwide. No warning, no detection on approach. It's as if they simply manifested. The crystalline structure pulsed with internal light, and a transmission cut across all frequencies, in perfect universal standard English. Attention inhabitants of Sol 3. This is the Astral Concordat. Your species has been under observation. The results are conclusive. For the safety of all sentient life, quarantine protocols are now in effect. The command center erupted in chaos, but Sarah barely noticed. Her mind was racing through the implications. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had always known first contact would come eventually. But quarantine? What had they seen in humanity that warranted such extreme measures? Dr. Chen. The Admiral's voice cut through her thoughts. I need answers. Why are they doing this? Before she could respond, the alien transmission continued. Your species exhibits dangerous genetic markers, unprecedented rates of adaptation and cognitive development. You are a threat to galactic stability. Until further notice, no human vessel or transmission will be permitted beyond the quarantine barrier. Resistance will be met with immediate response. The crystalline structure began to pulse with increasing frequency, and similar objects winked into existence at regular intervals throughout the solar system. Within minutes, Earth was surrounded by a network of alien technology far beyond their comprehension. Sir, Sarah's voice was steady despite her racing heart. They're afraid of us. Not of our technology or our weapons. They're afraid of our potential. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Explain. Human beings adapt faster than any known species. We learn, we grow, we change, not just culturally, but biologically. Our neural plasticity alone is off the charts compared to most documented alien species. They see us as an evolutionary wildcard. And that's enough to imprison an entire species. Sarah shook her head, scanning through decades of research on her tablet. No, there has to be more. The energy they're expending on this quarantine, they're not just containing us. They're terrified of something specific. As if in response to her words, the alien transmission resumed. Be advised, any attempt to access or activate latent genetic markers will result in immediate intervention. The mistakes of the ancient ones cannot be repeated. The command center fell silent. Admiral Rodriguez turned to Sarah, his expression grim. Doctor, I'm giving you full access to all our resources. Find out what these ancient ones were, and what they have to do with us. Whatever these aliens are afraid of, it might be our only way out of this cage they've built around us. Sarah was already moving, her mind racing with possibilities. The Astral Concordat had made one crucial mistake. They had revealed that humanity possessed something powerful enough to terrify the most advanced civilization they'd ever encountered. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was pushing boundaries. Sir, she paused at the door. They wouldn't go to these lengths unless they knew exactly what we're capable of. Somewhere in our genetic code, there's a key to abilities we haven't even imagined yet. The Admiral nodded slowly. Find it, Doctor, and pray we can unlock it before they decide containment isn't enough. As Sarah hurried to her lab, the crystalline structures continued their ominous dance around Earth, sealing humanity in their solar system prison. But prisons were built to contain known threats, And humanity's greatest strength had always been becoming something new, something unexpected. The quarantine had begun, but so had humanity's next evolution. The hidden truth. 3 weeks into Earth's quarantine, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her laboratory's holographic display with growing disbelief. The genetic sequence floating before her seemed to pulse with its own inner light, much like the alien barriers that now encircled their solar system. "Run it again," she ordered the lab's AI system. Full spectrum analysis. Her team of geneticists and xenobiologists worked in focused silence around her, each pursuing a different angle of the puzzle. The lab had been operating around the clock since the quarantine began, trying to understand what made humans so dangerous in the eyes of the astral concordat. Analysis complete, the AI announced. Confirmation of anomalous DNA sequences in all human samples. These sequences appear dormant but show signs of potential activation under specific conditions. Dr. Marcus Wong, Sarah's colleague in theoretical xenobiology, looked up from his own workstation. "Sarah, you need to see this. I've been comparing our findings with the archaeological database. There's something strange." She moved to his station, where ancient cave paintings and artifacts were displayed alongside genetic data. "What am I looking at?" "These artifacts date back to the earliest human civilizations. Look at the symbols, the patterns. They're not just art." Marcus highlighted specific sequences. They're representations of the same genetic markers we're finding now. "Our ancestors knew about this, Sarah. They were trying to tell us something." Before she could respond, Admiral Rodriguez entered the lab, accompanied by a woman Sarah had never seen before. The stranger moved with an otherworldly grace that immediately set Sarah's instincts on alert. "Dr. Chen," the Admiral said, his voice carefully neutral. "This is Lyra. She's agreed to help us understand our situation." Lyra stepped forward, her silvery eyes scanning the genetic displays with obvious recognition. "You're closer than you realize, Dr. Chen. The sequences you've discovered are not naturally occurring. They were engineered, placed within your species' genetic code long before the astral concordat existed." The lab fell silent. Sarah's mind raced with implications. "You're not human." "No." Lyra's form seemed to shimmer slightly. "I am what you might call a refugee. One of the few survivors of those your quarantine wardens fear so much. The ancient ones." Marcus stepped forward. "The ones mentioned in the quarantine declaration." "The same." Lyra gestured at the genetic display, and the hologram responded to her movement, rearranging itself into new patterns. "My people were the first to achieve true genetic transcendence. We learned to modify our own evolution, to adapt in real time to any challenge. It made us nearly immortal, nearly omnipotent. And ultimately, it led to our downfall." "What happened?" Sarah asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "We went too far. Some of us began to change into something beyond physical comprehension. The power drove them mad. The galaxy burned in the war that followed." Lyra's eyes grew distant. "Those of us who survived scattered our essence across the cosmos, hiding in the genetic code of promising species, waiting." Admiral Rodriguez's hand moved subtly closer to his sidearm. "Waiting for what?" "For a species with the right combination of attributes: intelligence, adaptability, and most importantly, wisdom to use the gift properly." Lyra turned to Sarah. "Your quarantine is not just about containing humanity. The Concordat knows what sleeps in your genes. They fear you will awaken it and succeed where my people failed." Sarah's tablet chimed with an urgent alert. She checked it, then looked up at the others with wide eyes. "The dormant sequences, they're becoming active. All across the planet, humans are starting to show unprecedented neural activity. It's beginning," Lyra said softly. "The question is, what will humanity become? Will you transcend as we hoped, or destroy yourselves as we did?" The Admiral's voice was steel. "That's assuming we believe you. This could be an elaborate deception." "Test me," Lyra challenged. "Your instruments will confirm what I am." But we don't have much time. The Concordats' quarantine was never meant to be permanent. When they detect the awakening beginning, they will have to make a choice: allow humanity to evolve or eliminate the threat entirely. Sarah looked at the genetic display again, seeing it with new eyes. The patterns weren't just code. They were a message, a legacy left by an ancient civilization that had seen something special in humanity. Something worth preserving. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Days, perhaps. The changes are accelerating." Lyra moved to the center of the lab. "I can teach you to control it, to guide the transformation. But first, you need to understand exactly what you're becoming." As if in response, the lights in the lab flickered, and Sarah felt something stir deep within her mind. A sense of potential, of power waiting to be unleashed. Around the room, her colleagues touched their temples, experiencing the same awakening. The quarantine wasn't just a prison. It was a crucible, and humanity was about to be transformed by the fire. Operation Breakthrough. Captain Maya Patel stood at the helm of the experimental vessel Prometheus. Her consciousness merged with the ship's neural interface. Through the advanced sensors, she could feel the quarantine barrier humming just kilometers ahead. A web of energy that had kept humanity caged for the past month. "Neural synchronization at 98%, reported Dr. Chen's voice through the comm system. "How are you feeling, Captain?" Maya flexed her thoughts, feeling the ship respond like an extension of her own body. Since the awakening began, this level of human-machine integration had become possible, though few had mastered it as quickly as she had. "It's like nothing I've ever experienced, Doctor. I can feel every atom of the ship." From her position in the secure laboratory beneath the United Earth Defense Command, Sarah watched Maya's neural patterns with a mixture of awe and concern. Beside her, Lyra observed the data with ancient eyes. "She's adapting faster than expected," the Ancient One noted. "They all are." Sarah nodded. Across the globe, humans were discovering abilities that defied explanation. Enhanced cognition, perfect recall, cellular regeneration. And those were just the documented cases. Some reports suggested even more dramatic manifestations. "Prometheus, you are clear to proceed with barrier analysis." Admiral Rodriguez's voice carried the weight of command. "But do not, under any circumstances, attempt to breach." "Understood, Command." Maya guided the ship closer to the barrier, her enhanced senses probing its structure. Beginning scan sequence. In the lab, Marcus rushed in with new data. "Sarah, you need to see this. We've decoded more of the genetic message hidden in our DNA. It's not just about transformation, it's a warning." Before he could elaborate, alarms blared throughout the command center. Multiple contacts. Maya's voice was tense. Concordat vessels decloaking on all vectors. The alien ships seemed to materialize from nothing, their crystalline forms similar to the barrier platforms, but sleeker, clearly designed for combat. A transmission cut through all frequencies. "Human vessel, you have approached restricted space. Withdraw immediately." "Pulling back," Maya reported, but Sarah could see her neural patterns shifting, adapting in real time to the presence of the alien technology. "Wait," Sarah leaned forward, studying the readings. "Maya, what are you sensing from their ships?" "It's strange. Their energy signature. It's similar to what we're detecting in newly awakened humans. As if..." Maya paused. "As if they're using the same fundamental force, just through technology rather than biology." Lyra's expression tightened. "They've built their empire on pale imitations of what we once wielded naturally. What you are beginning to wield again." The alien transmission continued. "Be advised, your species' accelerated development has been noted. The Council is convening to discuss final containment protocols." "Final containment?" Admiral Rodriguez demanded. "Explain yourself." "Your quarantine was provisional, pending confirmation of genetic activation. That confirmation has been received. The Council will now vote on implementation of the Omega Protocol." Sarah's blood ran cold as she saw Lyra's reaction to those words. What is the Omega Protocol? Sterilization, Lyra whispered. They'll destroy this entire system rather than risk the rise of another transcendent species. In the Prometheus, Maya's connection to the ship deepened as adrenaline flooded her system. New neural pathways opened, and suddenly she could sense more than just the ship. She could feel the barrier itself, could see the patterns of energy that held it together. Dr. Chen, her voice was steady despite the implications of what she was experiencing. I think I know why they're really containing us. It's not just about what we might become, it's about what we already are. Sarah watched in amazement as Maya's neural patterns aligned with frequencies they had detected in the barrier. What are you seeing, Captain? Their technology, this barrier, it's not just similar to our awakening abilities. It's based on them. They studied the Ancient Ones, reversed engineered what they could. But they could never fully replicate it. Maya's voice held a note of wonder. We're not just adapting to overcome their technology. We're remembering how to use what was always ours. Lyra stepped forward. Now you understand. The Concordat didn't imprison you to protect the galaxy from you. They imprisoned you to protect their power over it. Admiral Rodriguez's voice cut through the revelation. How long until they implement this Omega Protocol? The Council moves slowly, but once decided, they will act without warning. Lyra replied, days at most. Sarah looked at the genetic data, the awakening patterns, the barrier readings. A plan was forming in her mind. Then we have until then to prove that humanity won't repeat the Ancient One's mistakes. Maya, maintain position, but continue your analysis. If we're going to survive this, we need to understand exactly what we're becoming. As if in response, the barrier pulsed with new energy, and throughout the solar system, humanity's awakening continued to accelerate. The race was on, evolve or die, and humanity had never been good at accepting limitations. The awakening. The emergency session of the United Earth Council was unlike any gathering in human history. Representatives from every nation sat in the vast chamber, but the real attention was on the hundreds of holographic attendees, humans who could no longer be physically present as their transformations progressed. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her own form occasionally flickering with barely contained energy. The data is conclusive. In the past 72 hours, over 30% of Earth's population has shown signs of awakening abilities. The rate is accelerating exponentially. She gestured, and the chamber's holographic display came alive with neural maps and genetic sequences. Each manifestation is unique, but they all stem from the same source: the dormant genetic legacy of the Ancient Ones. And what of the Concordat's threat? The Chinese representative's avatar pulsed with concern. This Omega Protocol. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward. Our deep space arrays have detected massive fleet movements at the edge of the quarantine zone. They're assembling their forces. Based on Lyra's intelligence, we estimate we have less than 48 hours before they reach a decision. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. Captain Maya Patel's hologram appeared beside Sarah, her form now more energy than matter. Doctor, show them what we discovered during the last barrier probe. Sarah nodded and brought up new data. The Concordat's technology isn't just based on Ancient One principles. It's inherently inferior to what we're naturally developing. Their barrier, their ships, all of it is a technological approximation of biological abilities. And that approximation has a critical weakness, which is why they fear us so much. Lyra emerged from the shadows where she had been observing. Your species is not just replicating what my people could do. You're improving upon it, evolving it. The question, Maya's holographic form intensified, is whether we use these abilities to break free, or to prove we're better than those who came before. A new voice cut through the chamber. Dr. Marcus Wong, now speaking from quarantine, as his own transformation accelerated. We've finished decoding the full genetic message. The Ancient Ones didn't just give us their power, they gave us their history, their mistakes, their wisdom. They wanted us to learn from their failures. Sarah brought up the decoded message. its implications clear. They destroyed themselves because they tried to force evolution, to control it. We're different. Our changes are natural, guided by both our genetic heritage and our own experiences. We're becoming something new, something that's never existed before. But will that matter to the Concordat? The Russian representative's hologram flickered with skepticism. They seemed determined to prevent our evolution at any cost. As if in response to his words, every screen in the chamber lit up with an incoming transmission. The crystalline form of a Concordat High Commissioner materialized in the center of the room. People of Earth, the alien's voice resonated with authority. Our sensors detect widespread genetic activation among your population. The Council's vote on the Omega Protocol has been accelerated. You have 12 hours to demonstrate that you can contain these manifestations, or we will be forced to take permanent action. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward. And if we prove we can control these changes, what then? Control is irrelevant. The power you are accessing must not be allowed to exist in biological form. The Ancient Ones proved this. We cannot risk. The transmission suddenly cut off as Maya's hologram flared with new intensity. They're lying. I can sense it now. Their fear isn't just of what we might become. They're afraid we'll discover what they've been hiding. Sarah felt it too, a new awareness expanding through her consciousness. The quarantine isn't just containing us. It's containing something else, something they buried in our solar system long ago. Lyra's form became more solid, more present. Now do you begin to understand? My people didn't choose Earth randomly. What sleeps beneath your moon, beneath your oceans, those are the real reasons the Concordat fears your awakening. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just fighting for the right to evolve. They were on the verge of uncovering secrets that could reshape the power structure of the entire galaxy. Sarah looked at the assembled representatives, her decision made. We have 12 hours before they vote on our extinction. I suggest we use that time to show them exactly why humanity was chosen to inherit the legacy of the Ancient Ones. Around the chamber, humans, both physical and energy transformed, nodded in agreement. The countdown to humanity's greatest test had begun, and failure meant not just their own extinction, but the loss of something precious that had been entrusted to them eons ago. The real question was, could they master their new powers in time to save themselves, and in doing so, prove they were worthy of the gift they'd been given? Breaking chains, deep beneath the lunar surface, in an ancient chamber that had waited millions of years to be found, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a crystalline archive that made the Concordat's technology look primitive by comparison. Her transformed consciousness could finally read the energy patterns flowing through its structure, telling a story that changed everything they thought they knew. The Ancient Ones didn't just leave us their power. She transmitted to the gathered Earth Defense Command. They left us their mission. Through her enhanced perception, she could sense Captain Maya Patul guiding the Prometheus through the space between quarantine platforms, her ship now more thought than matter. Around Earth, millions of awakened humans were connecting to a vast network of consciousness that had lain dormant in their genes since the dawn of their species. The Concordat lied to us. Maya's thoughts resonated through their shared awareness. They didn't defeat the Ancient Ones. They weren't even the ones who built most of their technology. They're scavengers, using stolen power to maintain control. In the command center, Admiral Rodriguez watched as Lyra's form shifted, revealing her true nature. Pure energy given consciousness. The Ancient Ones didn't vanish, she confirmed. We evolved beyond physical form, but we knew that evolution alone wasn't enough. We needed a species that could maintain their humanity even as they transcended it. 8 hours until the Omega Protocol vote, Marcus's energy form reported. His consciousness spread through Earth's defense systems. The Concordat fleet is almost in position. Sarah touched the archive, and its secrets flooded her mind. The quarantine was never meant to contain us. The Ancient Ones built these barriers eons ago to protect Earth during our development. The Concordat found them, couldn't breach them, so they claimed them as their own technology. They've been keeping humanity imprisoned with our own inheritance. Through their shared consciousness, they all felt the moment the Concordat realized what was happening. The alien fleet surged forward, weapons charging. The humans have accessed the archives. Their transmission boomed. Omega Protocol is now authorized. Commence immediate sterilization. But as the alien ships approached, something extraordinary happened. The quarantine platforms, those ancient flowers of light and energy, began to respond to humanity's awakened presence. They recognized their true inheritors. They're not just barriers. Maya's consciousness expanded through the network. Their gates. The Ancient Ones built a transportation system spanning the galaxy, and Earth is one of its nexus points. The Concordat ships opened fire, but their weapons were useless against technology they had never truly understood. The barriers absorbed their attacks, transforming the energy into pure potential that flowed into humanity's expanding consciousness. Now, Sarah commanded, her form blazing with power. Show them who we really are. Across the solar system, millions of awakened humans reached out with their minds, connecting to the ancient network their ancestors had left them. The barriers bloomed like cosmic flowers, revealing corridors of light that stretched to the galaxy's farthest reaches. The Concordat fleet faltered as their stolen technology began responding to humanity's call, recognizing the true heirs of its creators. Ships lost power, weapons failed, and in that moment of crisis, humanity made its choice. Instead of destroying their would-be executioners, they reached out. Through the ancient network, they transmitted not just power, but understanding. The truth of the Ancient One's legacy, the responsibility they had been preparing humanity to assume, and an offer of peace. We are not your enemy. Sarah's thoughts echoed through space, touching alien minds with gentle power. We are not here to conquer or destroy. We are the guardians the Ancient Ones chose, entrusted with maintaining balance in a galaxy ready for its next great evolution. The Concordat ships hung motionless as their crews experienced something they had never imagined. Direct communion with the power they had only glimpsed through stolen technology. They felt the difference between their crude tools and the pure connection humanity had achieved. The Ancient Ones didn't give us weapons. Maya's consciousness joined Sarah's. They gave us the ability to bridge the gap between matter and energy, between consciousness and reality. They gave us the power to guide evolution itself. From the Lunar Archive, a final message activated, meant for this exact moment. The Ancient One's plan was revealed in its entirety. They had seeded thousands of worlds with the potential for transcendence, waiting for the species that could achieve it naturally, peacefully. Humanity was not meant to be the only inheritors, but the first of many, chosen to help guide others along the path. The Concordat Council's emergency transmission was almost desperate. What are you? Sarah's answer resonated through the ancient network, carrying the weight of both humanity's past and its destiny. We are what comes next. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but guardians and teachers. The question isn't whether you'll allow us to exist. The question is, will you join us in becoming something greater? As the barriers transformed from prison to gateway, as humanity's consciousness expanded to embrace its new role, the stars themselves seemed to pulse with possibility. The quarantine had been broken, but more importantly, humanity had proven itself worthy of the trust placed in them millions of years ago. They had not just survived. They had transcended, not through force or fear, but through understanding and choice. The Ancient One's legacy was safe in their hands, and the real work of guiding the galaxy's evolution was just beginning. The future was no longer bound by chains of fear, but free to expand into infinite possibility. Humanity's true journey was finally beginning.